stuff. But here's the problem. Nobody provided a single shred of evidence. I've reached out to multiple WNBA players involved in these allegations, have not got a response from any of them. Are there police reports? Is there any digital footprint? Where is the evidence that these people are citing that Caitlin Clark fans are just horrific, evil bigots? The reality is, we all know the answer to that question. The evidence does not exist because if you like Caitlin Clark, it doesn't.
Following a contentious statement from the league, Caitlin Clark supporters are furious and are telling the WNBA about it. The WNBA will never forget this. Why are they so incensed, and what will happen to the league next? Let's find out. Since joining the WNBA, Caitlin Clark has taken the league by storm. She has become a formidable force, leading the Indiana Fever and attracting a sizable fan support. But recently, that fan base has been stretched to its breaking point. Fans are criticizing the NBA's handling of the recent playoff game against the Connecticut Sun, which has sparked controversy. What exactly transpired, and why are so many people upset? The game that started the commotion was between the Connecticut Sun and Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever. It was a fierce matchup from the beginning, and Clark, as usual, was the center of attention both on and off the court. Her competitive fire and dynamic playing style make her a fan favorite, but they also mean that she is constantly watched by opponents, officials, and even fans. By the time the final whistle blew, the game was the same. Clark's Fever had been defeated, but the real drama had only just begun. The first incident that made everyone talk happened during the game when Clark got into a heated argument with a courtside fan. According to the ESPN broadcast, Clark pointed out the fan to the referees, who then ejected the person from their seat. It's unclear exactly what was said, but fans speculated about the altercation as the exchange swiftly went viral on social media. Clark's poise during the incident impressed many, but it was just the start of a much bigger story. Later in the game, as tensions between the Sun and the Fever increased on the court, Clark engaged in a number of physical plays that left her fans in awe. They were incensed that the umpires weren't protecting her sufficiently, letting the Sun players get away with using excessively violent methods. Clark was fouled during one play in particular without a whistle being blown. After the game, Caitlin Clark supporters took to social media in large numbers to express their frustration with the officiating, claiming that Clark had been singled out throughout the season without adequate protection from the referees. The hashtag #ProtectCaitlin went viral, with users accusing the WNBA of discriminatory officiating. Many believe that the league was ignoring the physicality Clark encountered in every game, and they demanded greater accountability from the WNBA and its officials, urging them to protect their star player. The post-game statement issued by the WNBA only served to fandom. While the league statement was probably meant to address growing concerns about inappropriate fan behavior, it also denounced racist, insulting, and threatening remarks made toward players, teams, and anybody associated with the league. Many Clark supporters felt that the league was ignoring the true problem and that the behavior completely missed the mark. The way Caitlin Clark was treated on the court, other people had opinions besides Clark's admirers. Legend of the WNBA Sheryl Swoopes also contributed, but not everyone agreed with her remarks. Throughout the season, Swoopes has been critical of Clark, casting doubt on the veracity of some of her achievements and subtly mentioning league favoritism following the playoff game. Her criticism of Clark's play has only heightened tensions between Clark supporters and the WNBA establishment. The divide between the old guard of women's basketball and the new generation of fans was becoming more apparent. Many Clark supporters saw Swoopes' comments as another example of the WNBA not fully embracing its new star. To them, it felt like Clark was being unfairly targeted both on the court and in the media. The growing rift was hard to ignore, and it was clear that the WNBA needed to do more to address its fans' concerns. But the story doesn't end there. Another layer of complexity was added when one of Clark's own teammates, Nalissa Smith, took to social media after the game. Smith, who is in a romantic relationship with Connecticut Sun player Jones Carrington, made headlines when she tweeted about the alleged death threats Carrington had received. Following the game, according to Smith, fans had followed and threatened Carrington after the Suns' victory over the Fever. This claim added yet another dimension to the controversy. While death threats and harassment should never be tolerated, many fans were skeptical of Smith's allegations, especially since no evidence was provided to back them up. Smith's tweets timing also caught people off guard because it was sent right after the WNBA issued a statement denouncing inappropriate fan behavior. Some fans interpreted this behavior as an effort to divert attention from the true problem. The league's handling of Clark's treatment on the court earlier in the season, Carrington wasn't afraid to stir things up. She tweeted that Smith deserved to be removed from the Fever's roster, which many took as a jab at Clark. This didn't sit well with Clark supporters, who saw it as yet another instance of the WNBA establishment undermining their star player. The tension between Clark's fanbase and the rest of the league was growing, and it didn't seem like it would be resolved anytime soon. What made the situation even more complicated was the personal connection between Smith and Carrington. Many Clark fans felt that Smith's relationship with Carrington was clouding her judgment, leading her to prioritize her personal life over her loyalty to the team. Smith's social media posts, in which she seemed to side with Carrington over her own teammates, only fueled these suspicions. Fans were quick to call out what they saw as unprofessional behavior, questioning Smith's commitment to the Fever and her role on the team. As this controversy continued, the WNBA found itself in a difficult position. On one hand, the league needed to address the growing concerns about fan behavior, especially in light of the accusations of racism and harassment. On the other hand, it couldn't ignore the frustration of Caitlin Clark's fanbase, who felt that their star player wasn't being treated fairly on the court. Balancing these competing interests was no easy task, and the league statement, while well-intentioned, did little to calm the waters. The WNBA statement, in the opinion of Caitlin Clark's supporters, was too general and did not address their main grievance, which was the officiating bias that seemed to follow Clark throughout the season. For them, this was about more than a few missed calls. It was about a pattern of treatment that they felt was keeping their star from realizing her full potential. This playoff loss was the tipping point for Clark's fans, who had seen her get thrashed game after game. The NBA's unwillingness to directly address the officiating problems was what many of these fans found most frustrating. Throughout the season, there were multiple instances where opposing players seemed to get away with excessively physical plays, or where Clark appeared to be fouled without a whistle being blown. This final game served as yet another illustration of the league's seeming inability to safeguard its greatest attraction to them. They weren't prepared to overlook the league's comments regarding fan behavior, since it appeared to be a diversion from the true problem. Not only did casual fans express their displeasure, but many well-known sports figures, including journalists and analysts, expressed their worries about the league's treatment of Caitlin Clark. It was widely acknowledged that the WNBA had a problem and that it needed to solve it quickly if it hoped to maintain the momentum it had gained with Clark's arrival. After all, Clark wasn't just any rookie. She was being hailed as the league's future and a player who could take women's basketball to new heights. However, how could she realize that potential if she wasn't given a fair shake on the court as the fallout from the playoff game continued to unfold? Among the more controversial elements of the circumstance was the role, as previously mentioned. Nalissa Smith played Smith, who was romantically involved with D.G. Carrington, a vital member of the Connecticut Sun. For many of Clark's supporters, this connection further complicated the already intense competition between the Sun and the Fever. After the game, Smith's public support of Carrington was perceived as a betrayal because, after all, she wasn't just a regular person standing up for her partner. She was Caitlin Clark's teammate. Many fans felt that Smith was prioritizing her personal relationship over her team loyalty when she tweeted about sending flowers to Carrington for her mental health. Even though the gesture itself wasn't particularly problematic, the timing was suspicious. Clark's fans were already grieving over what they perceived to be an unfair loss, and Smith's actions felt like salt in the wound. When Carrington tweeted earlier in the season that Smith needed to be removed from the Indiana Fever roster, many took it as a jab at Clark. They assumed that Carrington thought Smith wasn't getting enough opportunities because of Clark's increasing presence on the team. This comment had already caused tension between the two teams' fan bases, and it only got worse after the playoff game. Carrington's tweet and Smith's public defense of her led many Clark supporters to believe that there was more going on behind the scenes than just a simple rivalry. They started to conjecture that Carrington's feelings toward Clark were personal rather than merely competitive. For Clark supporters, this impression was reinforced by the fact that Carrington had engaged in multiple physical altercations with Clark during the season. Naturally, not everyone saw it that way, but it all pointed to a personal vendetta. Since basketball is a physically demanding sport and tempers sometimes boil, others contended that Carrington's actions were just a part of the competitive character of professional sports. In the heat of competition, they believed that the real issue wasn't Carrington's behavior, but rather the way the WNBA was handling the situation. To these critics, although Caitlin Clark stayed mostly silent throughout the controversy aside from her interaction with a courtside fan during the game, the league's failure to address the officiating issues and the growing tension between the teams was the main cause of the problem. If the league had intervened earlier, they argued, things might not have escalated to this point. As the dust settled, it became evident that the WNBA had a serious problem on its hands. Clark's fans appreciated her for remaining focused on the game and avoiding the drama, but they were also curious about how she truly felt about everything that had transpired. Was she angry with the officiating? Did she feel unprotected on the court? Or was she just taking the high road and letting her game speak for itself? The followers of Caitlin Clark were steadfast and demanding explanations. Although significant, the league's statement regarding fan behavior ignored the worries that many had regarding Clark's on-court treatment, and with the additional drama involving Nalissa Smith and Denai Carrington, it was evident that the situation was far from resolved. Where does the WNBA go from here? The league is at a crossroads. On one hand, it has an incredible opportunity with Caitlin Clark. She's a star in the making, and her presence has already brought a surge of attention and excitement to women's basketball. But on the other hand, the league risks alienating her fan base if it doesn't address the concerns that have been raised. If Clark supporters feel like their voices aren't being heard, they might start to tune out, and in a league that's still growing its fan base, that's a risk the WNBA can't afford to take. The controversy surrounding the playoff game, the officiating, and the involvement of Nalissa Smith and Denai Carrington has highlighted some of the challenges that come with growing a professional sports league. As women's basketball continues to gain popularity, the WNBA will need to navigate these kinds of situations carefully. It will need to find a way to balance the competitive nature of the game with the need to protect its players and ensure that everyone is treated fairly. For now, fans of Caitlin Clark are rooting for her because they think she's the league's future and they won't let her go easily. However, if the WNBA doesn't take action and resolve the concerns raised, the league may lose the momentum that Clark has given it. The ball is in the WNBA's court, and it is up to them to decide what to do next. What do you think of the NBA's response? Has the league addressed the problem sufficiently? If you like this video, please leave a comment below. If you want to receive more updates on your favorite athletes and sports, please like and subscribe.